What is up, guys? Marcellus Williams, aka TheSwolefessor, here to educate you on health, fitness, social well-being. On screen, you guys are going to be seeing the last few days from my last training block, because I started a new block this week. You guys saw Tuesday's workout in my last video, so in this video, the workout footage you see is going to be Wednesday all the way through Saturday. Now, what I want to talk to you guys about while this is all playing is that in my last video, I explained to you guys how efficient movement and fatigue kind of work hand in hand, in the sense of when we make sure that, you know, we work on our technique, work on our form, move more efficiently from like a biomechanical perspective, it allows us to move, you know, more weight for more sets, for more reps at lower exertions. And the example I use is that if you could hit a 500-pound single right on a lift at an RP of 6, that's going to be much lower exertion than if you have to hit it for like a max effort at an RP 10. So when it comes to the grand scheme of things in terms of recovery, injury prevention, proper form matters because it allows us to be more efficient in our movement, and therefore we don't have as much exertion. Now, something that a lot of people seem to be confused by is that in the past, you guys have heard me talk about how fatigue and fitness go hand in hand. So for that reason, isn't high exertion something that we actually want to see often in our training? And I think you guys are misunderstanding the difference between intensity and then exertion, in the sense of, from the mere fact that we are doing workload, right? If we have a certain amount of weight on the bar and we're doing it for a certain amount of sets and reps, that's already creating fatigue. Like by default, like there's a certain amount of fatigue we get from lifting weights, period, right? And that's what we're talking about in terms of, in order for fitness to go up, fatigue has to go up as well. Your workload has to go up. The weight on the bar has to go up. You have to start doing more sets, more reps. You have to get stronger, right? As you get stronger, there is fatigue that comes with that. And when we're demonstrating strength, it's pretty much just us trying to pull back as much of the fatigue as possible while keeping our fitness elevated so that we can demonstrate what we're able to do when we're not as fatigued, right? But the thing is, there's a distinctive difference between exertion and then intensity. We can increase intensity without increasing exertion, even though increasing exertion is a way that we can increase intensity. For example, you guys are maybe seeing me do like, a top set of 3 at RP 6 one week, then top set of 3 at RP 7 the next week, then top set of 3 at RP 8 the following week. So of course, with that, the load on the bar has to go up. And if the set and reps are consistent, the load on the bar has to go up in order for that exertion to go up, in order for me to hit like that RP 7 or 8, assuming I'm recovering correctly. Otherwise, it's very possible that my triple at RP 7 could be the same as my triple at RP 6, depending on how recovered I am. However, another way that you could go about increasing intensity could be something as simple as week 1, you're doing a top set of 4 at RP 6. Week 2, you're doing a top set of 3 at RP 6. Week 3, you're doing a top set of 2 at RP 6. Then week 4, you do a single at RP 6. Because the reps are going down, the potential load that you're able to do is more than likely going to go up, even though you're keeping the RP at a baseline of 6. In other words, you're keeping exertion the same, but intensity is still going up. And I think it's important to understand this distinction, because there's so many people who feel like they have to basically, like, you know, train balls to the walls, train close to failure every single session in order to see progression. I've already explained to you guys why that's not the case, how you can build strength and muscle mass without ever even coming close to training to failure. But I think it's very important for power lifters and people who are focused on strength training in general to understand that exertion has the hugest impact on our fatigue, but it has the lowest impact in terms of like our strength or muscle mass, when we're looking at the variables being like exertion, intensity, and volume, right? Like total workload is what matters when it comes to building strength and building muscle. And mind you, when I say total workload, I think a lot of people just think I mean sets and reps. I am including the weight on the bar when I talk about total workload, because it's total workload within the context of hard sets, meaning intensity matters. If you're one of these people who thinks that you're just going to get bigger and stronger from just doing very, very light weight, assuming you're natural, and you're just going to keep adding a bunch of reps and sets, you do get to the point where you start dealing with junk volume and getting diminished returns from that. In other words, you're just doing a whole bunch of extra volume, but you're not really getting any adaptations from that. The weight on the bar does have to go up over time. Like intensity is part of the grand scheme of things. We're talking about total workload. So when I'm referring to like volume, total workload, we're looking at sets, reps, and weight on the bar, right? But the reality is, you cannot build strength without increasing one of those variables. Like if you're trying to get stronger, you have to increase intensity over time. If you're trying to get stronger, you have to increase volume over time, because intensity is going to determine the type of adaptations that we get, and volume dictates the magnitude of adaptations that we get. That's what my coach Brendan always loves to say, and that's just a very good way of putting it. So those things clearly matter. But the reason that we know exertion doesn't so much matter in terms of building strength is because, once again, you don't ever have to train to failure in order to build strength or to build muscle mass. You don't ever have to necessarily hit an RP9 or an RP10 in order to build strength or muscle mass. So long as the weight on the bar is going up over time, so long as you're doing more workload over time, you're going to get stronger. You're going to put on more muscle mass. Now, that isn't to say that you're not going to have certain periods of time where you want higher exertion sets, especially when you're getting ready for testing, like, in powerlifting at a meet or just a testing day in the gym, because if it's a max effort lift, that's going to be high exertion. It's going to basically be an RP10 or very, very close to it. So it's not to say that it doesn't have its place, but this idea that you have to do it so frequently in order to build simply isn't true. That's why my style of coaching and programming, or Brendan's style of coaching and programming, really quite the vast majority of powerlifting coaches nowadays use more of a sub-max style system, even if it's a little bit different in terms of how we all apply it, whether doing DUP or something else. We all know that sub-max works because you don't have to push exertion so hard all of the time. And the reality is doing so often tends to shoot you in the foot. So it's important to understand the difference between that, between increasing volume, increasing intensity, and then increasing exertion. Yes, exertion is going to be very high when we are testing, but more often than not, we want to keep it relatively low, or at least as much as possible, while still pushing those other variables, the intensity, the volume, when we're training, because we're trying to build as much as possible without putting ourselves in too big of a fatigue debt. So like I said, fatigue is automatically going to be there in the sense of whenever we're working out, fatigue comes with that, but we don't want to push that fatigue even further by unnecessarily hitting RP8s, 9s, and 10s when we simply don't need to do that in order to build. But yeah, especially when we consider that training closer to failure or training to failure more often, it's just going to be hard to recover from. So in the long term, it just causes way more detriment than good. And that's kind of like the whole explanation with why exertion has such a huge impact on fatigue, but just is the least important variable when it comes to building strength and overall muscle mass. But yeah, I just wanted to give you guys that clarification after doing that last video. I realized it's something that I didn't really cover, and I feel like it's important so that you guys can understand, more of the method behind the madness, quote unquote madness, when it comes to the way that I program and the way that I train. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, go and leave a comment down below. Let me know what you did. If you're not, leave a comment down below. Let me know what I can do to get better. Like the video, share, subscribe. Keep it simple, specific, scientific, and I'll catch you guys later.